the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, and welcome back to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. Today, I am sitting down with an MSer from the state of Arkansas. I met Allie online. We are administrators of an MS Facebook page, the MS Rebels, and we met and we really hit it off, and we started talking about our MS, and Allie wanted to come on just to explain her journey with her diagnosis in 2014. Please welcome to the podcast, Allie. How you doing today, Allie?
I'm doing well, and you, Brian?
I'm doing all right. So, Allie, you got diagnosed with your MS in 2014. What kind of symptoms were you going through back then that kind of threw the red flag up that something wasn't right with your body, and you went to a doctor to try to get it figured out?
Around that time, I was celebrating that Saturday my two boys' birthday party, and I was just thinking that it's the energy. I just was tired. I was just running around too much. And during the party, I had to go in my room, and for whatever reasons, well, it's like my mind went blank and my whole body just collapsed on the floor in the middle of my bedroom. And the person who found me was my sister. She's like, "Are you okay? You need help getting up?" And I was like, "Okay, give me a minute. I'm just tired. Let me build my energy back up." But I could not lift my body up off the floor. So I laid there for at least 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour before I can actually get myself up off the floor. And I kept blaming it on energy level, fatigue. I was tired. That was Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, I started having optical neuritis, double vision.
Mm.
And I kept blaming it on fatigue, tired, and just saying, I just need some rest. I did too much for the boy's birthday party, and I kept blaming it on that.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes Monday. I still have optic neuritis. I am driving to work with one eye closed because I have double vision,
Yeah.
and I work in a warehouse. And it never subsided, and I am in a dangerous environment entirely now because I actually almost ran into one of the steel beams in the warehouse,
Yeah.
which means that I needed to go to the hospital. Somebody need to tell me something.
Wow. Yeah, I totally relate to that, Allie. That was one of my first symptoms. My eyes, I went double, and I actually couldn't see a stoplight. I couldn't tell the difference between red, yellow, and green. I was driving to work with one eye. Like, was that freaking you out? Was that the first time that this has ever happened to you in your life?
Yes, it was very scary. That is the first time that something like that ever has happened to me. And I would say, in another world almost because it freaked me out so bad that I thought I was about to go blind or, lose my vision or eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. I know. Like I said, I was in that same boat, Allie. I was scared. I mean, when you got your eyes, man, that is, I was panicked. I was 27 years old. I'm sitting here going, what the hell, man? I don't want, I want to be able to see. So did you end up going to a doctor, and what did the doctor tell you when you went in to see them?
I went to actually college, a medical school college, UAMS. So they have the actual physicians, and then they have the training to be physician, the residents there.
Hmm.
So one or the other, somebody's going to run a test and somebody's going to figure something out of why this is happening.
Right.
So luckily they did, and they after that MRIs, the CT scans, even did a spinal lumbar puncture test, and it's like, yeah, the actual main man, the main doctor that is like number one for MS. I actually was lucky enough to get him as my doctor, who actually diagnosed me with having uh, relapse remitting multiple sclerosis.
So when you got that diagnosis, Allie, did you have any kind of knowledge of what multiple sclerosis was?
No, not directly.
So how did you take that? Like when they said multiple sclerosis, I mean, what did you do? I mean, did you like just go to the Google hole and start figuring out what exactly it was? I mean, how did you handle that?
Well, first of all, when they'll give you a whole bunch of shitload of pamphlets,
Hmm.
just tell you what is it about, how many different stages they are, and um they try to stay light with it, saying that I only have relapse remitting right now, luckily, but I did do the Google search
Yeah.
at that time. What was it, 10 years ago? World Wide Web. We didn't have a lot of faith in Google that
Right. Right.
back
Right.
then and like that.
Right.
So yeah.
So when you started figuring out what MS was, I mean, how did you handle that, like the mental part of that? Like, because I mean, it's a chronic disease; it's never going to go away. I mean, this is going to be with us for the
Correct.
rest of our life. How did you handle that? Because I remember back when I first figured it out, back when I was 27. I kind of I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, am I going to be in a wheelchair? Back when I'm 40, 50 years old, and it was so there was a lot going through my head back then when I first started figuring out what MS was.
When I was first diagnosed, and a lot of thoughts were going through my mind was going 100 miles an hour. So my first thing was, will I die?
Okay.
Will I not be able to see my kids grow up?
Hmm.
Um, I knew something was wrong a long time ago. How come nobody who has had my blood in a vial, who has asked for it, tested me for this?
Yeah.
Why am I just figuring this out now?
Yeah.
Those was the questions going through my head. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with my kids? Am I going to see my kids graduate? And will I be in a wheelchair? Will I be able to be mobile? Will I be able to live a normal life?
Yeah. I hear you. I know those thoughts were going through my head constantly. When I was first going through it. But I kind of like, I pretty quickly got an attitude in my head, like, you know what? If it's gonna take me down, I'm gonna go down with a fight. I mean, did you like get to a point where you're just like, hey, it is what it is. I'm just gonna attack it.
Yes. Actually, after I was diagnosed, I actually went and researched and started a MS walk team. And I was like, well, I knew something was wrong, so let me go ahead and see other cohorts and see how they feel, what are their symptoms, experience, learn from them who already had it for years or than me, or maybe we can exchange some things that we could,
Yeah.
help one another out. So,
You, you know,
and I've been doing that for the past 10 years.
And that is so important, Allie. I am so, that is just so awesome that you did that so quick in your diagnosis. I know I've been doing this 27 years and I really didn't reach out to a community, for pretty much 25 of the years, 26 of the years.
Hmm.
And I look back at it now and I think I was kind of dumb. I think it was a stupid move. But I mean, that's just the way that I handled
You
it.
were scared.
It was,
Yeah.
I think it was a combination of scared. I didn't have
And as a man, you have your ego. So,
it is, I never wanted to admit that I was, struggling, because it was a guy thing and I played football at the University of Michigan and all that. And I'm just sitting here, why is this happening to me? Those kind of thoughts run through your head. Like, did I do something wrong to cause this? And, you didn't. I mean, people that get diagnosed with these chronic diseases, it's kind of like luck of the draw. It's like we win the worst lottery of our life.
yeah. And you got the question. I'm a religious person, so I had to question the guy above, like, what did I do so bad?
Mm,
Like, why me?
yeah,
So
I
I was in
yeah,
straight fight, constant fight with him over it. So
I
I'm like, why?
yeah, I've been there too, Allie. I'm Christian, and I ask God the same thing. Why me? Why me? But I look at it. I look back at it now, and I had 27 great years. I had 27 great years where I was healthy. I was able to go to college. I was able to play football. I was able to meet my first wife, and I mean, I had 27 great years, so I can't
Mhm.
complain about that. And even the years that I had with the after the diagnosis, I mean, I've had 27 great years after that. I'm 54 now. Were there bad times? Yeah. Did I struggle? Yeah. I mean, was I knocked to my knees with this disease? Yeah, absolutely. But you always have to get back up and keep on going.
Entirely.
Mm. So how did
That's
your how did your how did your family handle the diagnosis? I mean, you didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge of it. I mean, how did your family? You said you had kids. How did your kids understand the disease?
At that time, my kids didn't understand. They just understood mommy was sick. That's all that it was. 'Cause they were like 5 or 6. So that's all they knew. Mommy was sick. And at the time when I was married, I did have a partner, their father. So he was there when I was in the hospital for 5 days on IV, steroid IV. So
Mm-hmm.
they before it was way before COVID. So yeah, of course they can come to the hospital and visit, as
Yeah.
much as possible and things of that nature. But all they knew they was sick. My mom, she was so frantic and heartbroken to find out that actually her nephew has MS as well.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So some gene in the family on my mother's side has it apparently.
Wow. Yeah. So when
But we never talk much about him and his MS because
y-
he's in denial, but that's a different story.
yeah, I mean everybody handles it their own way. But now it's 10 years later, Allie. How do your kids understand it now? Now they're, teenagers, they're getting ready to, go to college really. So I mean, how do they understand the disease now since they've been with you for 10 years with it?
Now they understand it because I can't do as much as a normal person would do. They're especially my oldest one, he is right there. If we walking or something somewhere, he's right there with me because he's like 5'10", 200 and something pounds. So
Mm,
he's right there with me to see in case, because he has seen me trip and fall.
sure.
He has seen me uh maybe not walking the straight as the blind.
Hmm.
So he is right there with me. And my son, my other son, I have two boys, 15 and a 14-year-old. The 14-year-old, he was more empathetic to it because he is my baby boy for a long time.
Mm,
He is what you call a mama's boy. So
okay. Yeah.
he stuck to me like glue.
So do they understand like the medications that you have to take? I mean, what kind? I think let's talk about your DMTs. What kind of DMTs did they put you on?
So I have gone through a few of them. When I first got diagnosed, I was on Copaxone.
Okay,
Um,
that was my first one
but
too. How did you do on Copaxone?
I hated it.
Uh,
Who loves getting themselves poked
what?
every day? So
Yeah, you did the 7 day one. You just didn't like the needle, or did you have a an allergic reaction to it?
no, I just didn't like the needle that,
Yes.
and it didn't let up a marks, where the reaction site was at.
Yeah, the
So
little
I didn't
yeah,
like that at
it,
all.
would- it would leave the bumps and the little welts and all that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would have them around my waistline. I would go, I would rotate it every 5 days, like I'm inside thigh, my stomach, and yeah, I did that.
right.
I did that one for 15 years. I actually that was probably my
Oh gosh,
yeah, that was probably my best DMT actually.
it wasn't for me.
So
It,
what did you
I still progress. My legion steady progress on that. So we switched that.
so what did they put you on after that?
We went for Copaxone and then the one that's a pill once a day.
Gilenia?
What's the name of? Not Gilenia.
Hmm.
It was another one. I think it started with an L.
Hmm.
If it might be Gilenia. No telling.
Yeah.
Um,
But you were on the oral? How did you do with
yes,
that one?
oral. It was fine. I did okay with it. I thought it was helping,
Hmm.
but once again, with it, every year you get your MRI and uh we're study progressing. What would you like to do?
So what
There is a
so let me
something 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 infusion. So
so
yeah.
let me ask you this, Allie. When they say that you're progressing, are your symptoms getting worse too? Is your walking getting worse? Or your
Yes.
eyes? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's wrong with my eyesight, but my walking, when do the time walks,
Hmm. Yeah.
well, so it was getting worse and
So are you
I
using any?
guess the direction of my feet was getting worse too. It was leaning towards I can say, if you could relate to me, pigeon toe, but almost about to be tripping over your feet,
y-
kind of,
Yeah, I
when you
understand
walking.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that. I understand that exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was getting worse. Yeah.
Okay. So do you walk with mobility aids?
Yes, I have a cane, and just in case if I need it, I do have a rollator.
So I got to ask you, did you struggle when you first started having to use it?
I hated it.
Yeah. So
I
did,
tried all kinds of things, and what can I make it look cool and cute? And I
yeah.
said, to hell with it. I just use it if I necessarily about to die and need to use it.
Yeah.
If I need to swat somebody on their head, nah, I use it.
There you go. I
If I
struggled.
need to get in front of the line at a concert, I use
There you go.
it.
There you go. I struggled when I first started having to use it because I was embarrassed of it. I mean, I think I was 45
I
years.
was too young.
I was
I
40.
was too young.
I was 45 when I started having to use it. And I'm just
I
sitting
was
there going,
32.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah, okay, okay. I mean, you were a lot younger than me. It's a hard thing. I mean, it's a hard thing mentally, but
Very.
once I figured that out, once I figured out, what, Brian, you're better off with it. It was a lot easier to accept. And actually, I think a lot of the stares that I thought I was getting, I think it was just in my head anyway. I mean, I've been using it.
Nope, nope, they're still staring.
S-
Nope, nope, they're still staring.
You still think they're still staring? Well, I guess
They
now.
still staring, and then now it's just your attitude towards it's
Oh,
like, fuck you, move it
that's
along.
that's what it is. I guess my attitude is just I don't give a flying fuck now what anybody thinks or cares.
Right,
And that's the
right,
attitude. That's the attitude I think we all have to take. We still want to be active out in society. We still want to be able to do things. And if the only way you can
right.
do them is with a walker, wheelchair, or a cane, you still got to do it.
Hmm.
I would rather be out in public in my wheelchair than sitting in my house, staring at the four walls.
Right,
'Cause, I mean,
right.
to me, that's
Melting away or
yeah,
sulking inside the couch.
yeah. It's just not good for your mental health. What do you do
It's
to
not.
like kind of manage your mental health with this disease?
Um, what do I do? Well, I have been so involved with an organization. And so we do a lot of outgoing functions as a community service in the community, collection of books, gatherings. I was part of another uh, group where it was all older adult like women who have businesses or adventures and wanted to do that uplift you. So
That's
anything positive,
that's cool.
anything positive.
And volunteering with stuff like that, I mean, it makes you have a purpose. Just like finding
Yeah.
organizations and that can use your help with something, and I think that's awesome.
Makes you feel valid.
It does. It does. It gives you a purpose in life to wake up in the morning and to keep on going because a lot of us lose our ability to work. I lost my ability to work about a year and a half ago. So, I mean, you got to figure something out. If you're sitting at home, you got to find something to occupy your time. Whether it's something like you might be you might have a talent in as an artist, or you might be able to get into some kind of like sewing, crocheting, knitting. I mean, you got to find something to occupy your mind.
I thought about it. Crocheting, I thought about it so bad, but I was like, oh, I can't do it. I have ADHD. I can't do it.
ADHD. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think my hands would let me.
I would start a chain and then I'll leave it somewhere and forgot where I left it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about relationships with this disease. You said that you were married when you first got diagnosed. Did he
Yes.
understand the disease when did
No,
did he have any knowledge of it?
no,
No.
nothing.
So he had to learn about it too. Did he did is I mean I don't want to, if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. But I mean did that have anything to do with you guys getting the divorce? Was the MS
Oh,
related?
no.
Okay. So he understood the MS, he accepted it, and he was with
He accepted it.
got it.
Hmm.
That's a good thing though,
It's the thing that we just grew apart, you know?
Yeah.
I needed and wanted things, and then he wanted and needed things, and we just didn't mesh together.
So let me
And after you have enough, you got to bag away from the table, and that's what I did. The stress, I need to take something off my plate, and ultimately, that stress was something that I needed to remove from my life and off my plate, because that's the number one thing that doctor would tell you will make you go back is stress. So,
That is my number one enemy, Allie. I can tell you that 27 years, every single episode I have been through, you can trace back to stress, whether it was family, work, or just life. Everything was, I went through a divorce. That's when my MS really took a shit. I was great for 15 years. My divorce, I was married for 15 years, and that's pretty much when I started to really decline. And I just think that stress just had so much of a toll on me. But the question that I have for you is, how did you, because I know that when you have a chronic disease and you're married, you kind of, so a lot of people, they're dependent on that spouse, even though they're in a narcissistic relationship or whatever. It could be abusive or whatever, but they're so afraid to take that step to leave because they have that chronic disease. But you were able to do that. And I just
yeah.
like how did you come up with that in your mind, just knowing that you had the chronic disease? I would just be interested to hear that because I know that there's got to be other people that are in similar situations as you that might not be in a
Mhm.
happy relation or a happy marriage, but they're so afraid to leave because of their disease.
Right. Uh, may not be as how would you be able to say it? As bad off as the next one, but I look towards my children
Hmm.
that I needed to do something better for them that would help me to last a little bit longer to see them grow up. I asked God for a sign. I talked to him. I told him, hey, look, God, this is what I'm feeling. What do you think? What are you going to say? If I do this, are you sure? So, yeah, I had to look at my kids, and I wasn't even in therapy or anything. I was my own therapist. So
Yeah.
that was my go-to is my kids, my boys. I had to do something so I would be able to still be here for them.
I love
'Cause if stress was gonna bring me down, I wasn't going down without a fight, and I didn't want to get down to that point.
Yeah, I love that, Ellie. I mean, it sometimes our decisions that we have to make, they're hard decisions with the chronic disease, but you got to figure out, you got to figure out who you're fighting for. You're fighting for yourself, number one, and then you're fighting for your kids, and you got to do what's right for them. And sometimes it's a big step, but it looks like that you are very happy with your decision because I mean you're here talking to me and I know that we talk all the time in the Rebels and you are always very positive, and that's why I wanted to record with you because I wanted to hear your story because I want people to understand that we can still strive with this disease and we can still do great things.
Uh-huh. Yep, we can.
So let's talk a little bit about the Rebels. I know that you were already with them when I joined them, and can you just kind of take us through how you got hooked up with Liliana and the MS Rebels?
So I'm always on to wanting to research and what's the latest, what helps the next person with MS. Is there something I'm missing? And I'm involved in a couple of groups, MS groups on Facebook. And just so happened, somebody tagged the group. However, I said, let me see this. Um, you had to answer questions. So I was like, okay, they're screening. They want to know.
Hmm.
So I was lucky enough, I guess cute enough that she decided to pick me to join.
Hey,
So
I just I love everything about Liliana's group. I know I'm new to Facebook. I've only been on Facebook about a year now, and when I first started on Facebook, I was getting on all these MS groups, and I'm looking around, and there's a lot of them that they really limit what you can post, and they screen
yeah,
stuff. And I got kicked out of like three or four Facebook pages just because I was posting stuff about my podcast. And I'm like, I'm not
right.
self promoting myself. I'm just trying to help people understand this disease a little bit better. And it was just crazy. And then I found Liliana's group, and Liliana, she was like, oh my God, Brian, I love the podcast thing. And it was just like we really kicked off our relationship. She's just
Yeah,
such an
it's like a
awesome.
breath of fresh air.
It
It's
is.
like free range. And then the other groups are like, you can't talk about this here and don't say this, don't post this here. I'm like, but I'm telling you how I feel. So why do you create this MS group when we can't get off our chest what we are feeling at that moment?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was like, maybe not for me.
Yeah.
Or is always somebody complaining about somebody else who posted something. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
You're trying to get away from the dead end of having MS and have fun or be a little lighter on the note.
Right. Right.
And you just putting up a brick wall. Like, how you know what that person is going through?
Yeah. And I know that community is just so important with this disease.
It is.
It is so important to find people that understand, that can relate what you're going through, and because there's a lot of times that we get frustrated. We get frustrated. So that's when people get quiet and they don't want to talk because they're like, you know
Yeah.
what? Nobody understands me anyway. But if you find
Right, right.
if you find that community that with people that have chronic diseases, they have MS, like the MS rebels, everybody in there has MS. We're all fighting the fight. We all understand each other. And it's just so important to find that community of people that just get it.
Right. We are all literally individual rock stars. We go at our own pace. We toot to our own horn, you know? There's no regulations on you can't do this. Don't say that. Don't post this, you know? We want to let it all out because you never know what that family, that community is like for the next.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you had to say, one last thing, Allie, that to anybody that is listening, that are in similar situations as us, they've had it for 10 plus years and we're just fighting the fight. What would your, message be to them to not give up and just to keep on going?
My message would be to them, the sky is the limit. You can still reach for it, even if you're in a chair or if you are still mobile. Reach, put your fingers up in the sky. If you don't or can't move your hands that much, find a back scratcher to reach for the closest star you can get to. Don't give up hope.
Never. I love it, Allie. I love it. It doesn't matter what this disease takes from you. You got to keep on going. You can't give up. I think that once you give up, I think this disease just takes over.
It takes over. Yeah,
That's my attitude with this disease. I'm like, I'm never going to give in to this disease. You might end up putting me in a wheelchair, but I'm sure as hell going to fight till the last
right,
day. You might take my voice, but I'm going to talk until I can't. You might take my
right,
hearing, you might take my sight, but I'm going to use everything that I still can to the best of my ability
right,
and enjoy it as much as I can because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you better enjoy today.
correct. Exactly.
Allie, I really, really want to thank you for coming on to share your journey with me. I mean, you're just awesome. I love talking to you. I love talking to all the
Oh, thank you.
I love talking to all the admin. I love talking to anybody that has MS, first of all. And
Right.
I just love everybody in the Rebels. And I just say anybody that is going through this chronic disease, find your community, find people that you can relate with,
Exactly.
and just never stop fighting. I mean, you're always going to. The sun's always going to come up tomorrow. It doesn't matter how bad of a day you have, it's going to come up
Right.
and you're going to have to face it. So just try to do it as
Mhm.
positive as you can. And Allie, I really, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. If you want to,
Thank you for having me.
oh, not a problem, Allie. Anytime you want to come on and talk about MS, just to explain it any better, I am always around.
Mm,
You know how to get a hold of me.
sure thing.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at MS Michigan Man 64. You can also find me on TikTok, MS Michigan Man 64. And you can find me on Facebook, Brian Wallace out of Brunswick, Ohio. Until the next episode, this is the MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.